House resumes.
Thank you.
And debate continues.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of the measure, which is the 2017-2018 budget, as presented by the Minister of Finance, Honorable Prime Minister, last Thursday. And, Madam Speaker, based on what has transpired here during the course of the last few days, it makes my job very easy just to say I support the budget and to sit down, Madam Speaker. Because I believe, Madam Speaker, that we on the government side have truly represented the aspirations of the people of Dominica, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I think it would be remiss of me not to just raise a few points and a few concerns, Madam Speaker, coming out of the budget, and just to give some brief responses to some comments made by the members of the opposition side. Madam Speaker, I'm not sure if you noticed that there is a nice camaraderie in the Parliament, Madam Speaker, and it has been since after lunch. Madam Speaker, you know that me and the members from Salisbury, we vex with one another, Madam Speaker. We're not talking for almost a year, Madam Speaker. We're not talking. Well, I vex with you, or you vex with me, but we vex, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, when I met the gentleman in the cafeteria, I almost thought he was going to offer me a cup of coffee, Madam Speaker. That is to show you how relaxed and how comfortable he was in my presence. And so, Madam Speaker, it makes me wonder, why is it that sometimes the members of the opposition get so agitated, get so frightened, get so anxious, Madam Speaker? And it seems to me, Madam Speaker, that every time the leader of the opposition is outside of the Parliament, the members of the opposition are very happy and friendly and warm, Madam Speaker. But once the gentleman is in the Parliament, Madam Speaker, the mood just changes. And, Madam Speaker, that says something, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is why I was a little taken aback when the member for Salisbury, Hector John, was asked to say to you that he thinks that the Prime Minister is disrespectful, that every time he gets up to speak, the Prime Minister walks out, Madam Speaker. And that's surprising, Madam Speaker. Disrespectful? Lennox Linton, member for Marigot? Madam Speaker, I cannot make the connection. This gentleman, Madam Speaker, has disrespected almost everybody in this country, Madam Speaker. From babies to young people, to the bishop, to the president, and he takes offense when he believes in his mind that he's been disrespectful. Madam Speaker, it's not the same gentleman who insulted the young people of this country for no apparent reason, Madam Speaker, by just going to the Prime Minister's office to seek some assistance and to seek some help. And he calls them what, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, is that the same gentleman who is now in court for calling members of the Dominican Labour Party, ministers and members of cabinet a particular name, Madam? I know, Madam Speaker, I'm not going to mention it.
End it right there, please.
Let it right there, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, is this the same gentleman who called the elderly people of this country greedy, Madam Speaker? That he takes offense and feels disrespected because we didn't sit down, or he thinks that the Prime Minister walks out every time he gets up to speak? But what did he say, Madam Speaker? What was there to listen to, Madam Speaker? What was he saying, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, I also get the sense that when the member for Marigot is out of the Parliament, the members of the opposition get an opportunity to free up themselves and to speak their mind, Madam Speaker. Because while the leader of the opposition said nothing in relation to the budget, half of the members on the opposition side supported the measures in the budget, Madam Speaker. The senator, Madam Speaker, you thought he was a member on the government side. Madam Speaker, you expect men to throw their little political jabs and so on, because men have people listening to them. Men want to feel their supporters or they want to hear them. But by and large, Madam Speaker, they support the budget. And that is why I'm wondering, and the member for Roseau Central, he was emphatic, Madam Speaker. He made no bones or no about he supporting the measures in the budget, Madam Speaker. And I notice that's the second time he's deviating from the line prescribed to him by the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you remember the opening of the bridge, Madam Speaker? Remember the opening of the bridge, Madam Speaker? When the plan was that they would not attend, Madam Speaker. The member from Roseau Central was on radio on the Friday morning saying how shameful this bridge was. And he was not going to attend and calling Dominicans not to attend the opening of the bridge, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, when I went there, it was about, the thing was at 3 o'clock. 2:45, I say, well, the plan working? No, Isaac. 10 to 3, no, Isaac. 5 to 3, no, Isaac. As we got 2 minutes to 3, I see a man running out in a black jacket, Madam Speaker. Wiping his face, Madam Speaker, running out, jam me, Madam Speaker, to get on there for the opening of the bridge, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, for something after that, we never saw them, we never heard about them, we never heard them, Madam Speaker. Today, Madam Speaker, it appears to me that the intention was for the opposition not to speak anything positive about the budget, Madam Speaker. And yet still, Madam Speaker, you had the member for Roseau Central being the biggest supporter, really, of the measures in the budget, Madam Speaker. And that says something, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we're on this side of the thing. You can feel the unity among us. You can see that we were prepared to defend the budget, Madam Speaker. You can see that we were part and parcel of the process, Madam Speaker. You can see us supporting other ministries. Sometimes when you heard Dr. McIntyre, you thought he was Minister of Agriculture. And the member for Castle thank him for support. Madam, you could see a unity in the government, Madam Speaker, as far as management of the affairs of the country is concerned. But, Madam, you cannot say that for the opposition. And, Madam Speaker, it tells us that if the members of the opposition cannot show some unity in the parliament, where the whole world is watching, where the people of Dominica are listening, Madam Speaker, you can imagine what's happening when they meet in their executive meetings and at the caucus level, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you can see the member for Roseau South, he was there, and the member for Margaret never looked in his direction. Never looked in the gentleman's direction, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I make this point to say that if we have these men, Madam Speaker, who intend to replace this government, cannot agree on a budget, Madam Speaker, that means and holds so much for the people of Dominica, then on what can they agree, Madam Speaker? And to put the country in the hands of this gentleman, with the amount of money that this government has been able to raise and put in the treasury, Madam Speaker, you can imagine what will happen, Madam Speaker? No, Madam Speaker. Many have problems, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need to be careful, Madam Speaker. Because you see, Madam Speaker, we have arrived here, Madam Speaker, and I speak on this budget with a feeling of joy and happiness, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, I've been here from 2000. And I know the struggle that we had to go through from 2000 to get to the point where we are here today, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we got to this parliament at a time when we were visited by Hurricane UWP, Madam Speaker. And that hurricane lasted 5 years, Madam Speaker, from 1995 to 2000, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I hear them there, Madam Speaker, quoting the IMF extensively, Madam Speaker. Extensively, what the IMF said and what the IMF didn't say. Madam Speaker, when the IMF spoke to them in 1998, 1999, they didn't listen to the IMF, Madam Speaker. When the IMF told them that the pursuit of the international airport and the stadium would have created an albatross around the necks of the people of Dominica, they didn't listen to the IMF then, Madam Speaker. And interestingly, Madam Speaker, one of the architects of the IMF recommendation was the economic guru on that side, Thomson Fountain, Madam Speaker. That is a gentleman, Madam Speaker, who came back and told the people of Dominica that he was retiring in his comfortable life in the United States to come down here to serve his people and to serve his country, Madam Speaker. Today we're debating a historic budget, Madam Speaker. The largest budget since independence and maybe since the history of this country, Madam Speaker. And you didn't apologize for him not being here, Madam Speaker. You didn't read any excuse at the beginning of the session. You gave excuses for Ivor Stevenson and for somebody else, I can remember. But nothing was said, Madam Speaker, about the member for the senator, Madam Speaker, Thompson Fontaine, Madam Speaker. That is the loyalty, Madam Speaker. That is the commitment that these gentlemen on the opposition have for the development and for the well-being of the people of Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, they make reference to 7 years, Madam, 17 years to take us to that point, Madam Speaker. And they're correct, Madam Speaker. It takes us 17 years to get to that point. What they need to tell us, Madam Speaker, that the first 5 years, Madam Speaker, we spent it correcting the wrongs that they had to do to this economy, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for the first 5 years, Madam Speaker, when we got in, Madam Speaker, we made $35 million worth of unpaid checks in the Treasury, Madam Speaker. That is the reality. That is what we met in 2000, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we met $35 million being owed to the Dominica Social Security as contributions that was deducted from public officers' salaries and not paid to the Social Security, Madam Speaker. That is what we were doing for the first part of the 17 years that we spent in government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we met a bank overdraft of $87 million, Madam Speaker, $27 million over the legal and approved limit, Madam Speaker. That is what we met in 2000. Madam Speaker, we met a consolidated fund deficit of $27 million, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we met $9 million worth of LPOs owed to the local merchants, Madam Speaker. That is what we met, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we couldn't pay salaries. We couldn't pay salaries, Madam Speaker. $50 million owed to regional and international institutions, Madam Speaker. That was the state of affairs when the Dominican Labour Party took over the reins of this country, Madam Speaker. And we were forced, Madam Speaker, into a program to reconstruct completely the economy of this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we lost 2 prime ministers in that effort to reconstruct the economy of Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we had to inflict pain on the poor people of this country, Madam Speaker. They were called upon to make sacrifice upon sacrifice. Madam Speaker, we imposed a tax on bicycle here in this parliament, Madam Speaker, in an effort to fix the situation existing in the country, Madam Speaker. And they tell us about, it took us 17 years, Madam Speaker. 17 years, Madam Speaker. But when the first 5 years out of the 17 was to correct the evil and the wrong, Madam Speaker, that was brought upon this country by the United Workers' Party, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, another important juncture in our 17-year governance of this country is Tropical Storm Erica. And you can close your eyes to Tropical Storm Erica. You don't have to record. It never happened, Madam Speaker. And when they were called upon, and they're talking about bipartisan, when they were called upon to assist, not the government, to assist the people of Dominica in recovering from Tropical Storm Erica, Madam Speaker, given blank checks by the Prime Minister to go to the constituencies and help in the resettlement effort, in the restructuring effort, Madam Speaker, they walked away from it and turned their backs on the people of Dominica, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, that is the sad part. That is the sad part. Because the United Workers' Party, Madam Speaker, from 2000 has tried everything to derail the economic progress of this government and of this country, Madam Speaker. Fighting the government, Madam Speaker. In the austerity days, you remember the number of demonstrations, Madam Speaker. You remember the number of demonstrations they had over the austerity measures that was imposed by the government, Madam Speaker. In more recent times, Madam Speaker, in more recent times, you see the attack on a revenue source that this government had creatively carved out for itself and for the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you saw the attack on the economy by the leader of the opposition, the member for Marigot, on his CBS January 1st program, Madam Speaker. A war against the people of Dominica, a war against the economy of Dominica, Madam Speaker. That is what saddens me, Madam Speaker. At a time when we should all join forces for the sake of the people of Dominica, Madam Speaker, the United Workers' Party opposition sought to derail the program, Madam Speaker, to black-eye the country, and not black-eye, Madam, black-face the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's okay if you have one black eye. Madam Speaker, it's okay if your nose bleeding, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you have a piece of ears, it's okay, it's fine. But Madam, if they bust your lip, it's all right, Madam Speaker. But to mash up your whole face, Madam Speaker, that cannot be right, Madam Speaker. And that is what the United Workers' Party opposition, they've sought to do, and they continue to do, Madam Speaker. And when they believed that wasn't going anywhere, Madam Speaker, they decided they're going to burn down the capital city of Roseau, Madam Speaker.
Member, please. Okay?
Madam Speaker, the supporter...
Please, no, withdraw that.
I withdraw that, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, we also heard, Madam Speaker, they went to Salisbury, Madam Speaker. And I want to tell the member for Salisbury, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, he comes here. Madam Speaker, you see, when you represent people, Madam Speaker, when you represent people, you are a counselor, you are a father, you are the doctor sometimes, Madam Speaker, you're the taxi, you everything, Madam Speaker. And they treat you with a certain level of confidence, Madam Speaker. They expect you to hold their business, Madam Speaker, and to keep their business private. The gentleman comes to the Parliament, Madam Speaker, and he said he met a lady from Salisbury on Coolibee Street, and she said she wanted to see me because her house, hurricane took her. Madam Speaker, the lady spoke to her in confidence. So you come to me as the minister, yes. And you say, well, Mr. Minister, because you're not sure whether I'm not sure whether she blue, whether she green. Yes. And maybe she don't want people to know she want to see me, Madam Speaker. Because you know them workers, people out there be ready, Madam Speaker. While they're playing, they vex with you in the day, in the night, they're creeping behind you and talking secret to you in the night for people not to know you, Madam Speaker. Because when he wanted his support, Madam Speaker, while people go home, Madam Speaker, after 4 o'clock, he found where the Prime Minister's office was to ask for his medical support for his medical education, Madam Speaker. They come to in all forms, Madam. They dress in red. They do all sorts of things, Madam Speaker, to come for the same support they call our people prostitutes about coming for in the Prime Minister's office, Madam Speaker. So you don't know if the lady wanted a private discussion, Madam Speaker. You come here in the Parliament and tell me, oh, and you call the lady name too, you know, oh, so-and-so say they want to see you because you don't do this, Madam Speaker. You call the minister aside. He say, Reggie boy, you know, well, he wasn't calling me Reggie. No, he called me Reggie, Madam Speaker. Because remember, we vex. He's supposed to be vexed, Madam Speaker. But, well, look, he changed now. Look, the fella come back. So things back. Oh, Lord. Mister, the member for Marigot is back. Leader of the opposition is back. So that camaraderie we had, that gone. No more camaraderie for the rest of the night, Madam Speaker. Because the member for Marigot is back, Madam Speaker. Yeah. The member for Marigot is back, Madam Speaker. So,
point of order, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I'm getting this something for you.
Anyway, loud.
44-6.
Standing order 44. Yes,
No
tell me what standing order 44-6.
Okay.
It says something, I know, but what is that something?
Yeah, can I read? No member shall impute improper motives to any member.
What improper motive? I didn't hear any improper motive.
The member is saying to this House, or suggesting to the nation, that as a result of my entrance into the Parliament chamber...
That's not what it is about at all. Please take your seat. That's not improper motive. Come on. No. You haven't understood what this improper motive is at all.
What do you mean I haven't understood what's improper motive?
I'm telling you, you haven't understood.
I've listened to you for years.
Please take your seat.
I've listened to you for years.
Please take your seat. That's it. That's it. That's it. I knew the party would end. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because it's very clear. There's no improper motive there. It's a very proper motive.
I tell you the thing mash up. I tell you the thing mash up, Madam Speaker.
No nonsense. No nonsense.
Madam Speaker. But it's okay, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord, oh, Lord. Shall I continue? Yeah, I'll try, man. I'll try, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, that is where we are. That is where we are. And if you didn't exercise some patience, there would be a problem here tonight, You see, you exercise your patience, Madam Speaker. And I really hope, Madam Speaker, we can do it. Don't ignore, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition presented a document, which I am convinced, Madam Speaker, that the gentleman did not read the document. He's a bright fellow, Madam Speaker. Because what was in that document was what he says every day, everywhere he goes, Madam Speaker. I heard it in Roseau on the night of February 7th. I heard it outside of the Parliament. I heard it in Salisbury. I heard it in the Arab House of Culture, Madam Speaker. What the member from Marigot not realized, Madam Speaker, that all the issues raised I'm not sure if it's a rebuttal, it's a response to the budget, Madam Speaker, was things that have been ventilated in the public. The Dominican public have voted and decided on those issues, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, we've gone to 2 elections with those same issues that were raised in the Parliament last Friday. Those same issues have been raised in the politics, Madam Speaker, and the people of Dominica still voted for the Dominica Labour Party. But, Madam Speaker, he either didn't read it, and if he read it, it's impossible, Madam Speaker, he could not have understood what he read, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, let's take a couple of the issues at random, Madam Speaker. And let's deal, Madam Speaker, with the issue of the suspension of the geothermal project, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you don't have to go to high school, Madam Speaker. I mean, you don't have to go to high school for you to know, Madam Speaker, that when the foreign agency give you a project, Madam Speaker, they give it to you because they're satisfied that the project is viable and bankable, Madam Speaker. And the member said is a promotion, is a PR. Madam Speaker, the World Bank using 15, 16, $17 million to do PR in Dominica, Madam Speaker. And the British government, Madam Speaker, will give you $5 million to do PR. Pounds. And the government of New Zealand would give you all $20 million worth of technical support to do PR, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker, it doesn't make sense to me. And if, Madam Speaker, with his limited knowledge, if the member from Marigot had read that, he would never come here and repeat that in this Parliament, Madam Speaker, because it doesn't make sense and it cannot work, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, what's the alternative, Madam Speaker? Solar, using the same money now, Madam Speaker. It doesn't happen. Madam Speaker, you have to tell those people, thank you, I don't need your money anymore, and I would like to negotiate with you to spend the money somewhere else or in another project. That's how it's done, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, you have to go through the process again, all through the whole cycle, 4, 5, 6 years. Madam Speaker, this geothermal project didn't just happen overnight, Madam Speaker. To say it's an egg, and you sit on it for 21 days. It's not an egg. It's not a moose, Madam Speaker. You put under your arm, Madam Speaker. 21 days you're walking up and down with an egg under your arm. Huh? And when you lift up your arm, money just coming out and money just falling out. So the egg hatch. That's not how it's done, Madam Speaker. That's not how it's done, Madam Speaker. One way you have to negotiate and you have to convince them that that project is viable and bankable, and then they will start to talk to you, Madam Speaker. That's how it's done. And Madam Speaker, he says, Madam Speaker, you know how much land, solar power, solar energy, Madam Speaker, and they say you will put the panels on every house in Roseau, Madam Speaker, to generate enough electricity to run the grid, to replace diesel, Madam Speaker. So why you put the battery now? So, okay, so let's say, Mr. Thomas, you can put the solar panels on the buildings. Where are you going to put the battery? Under the building then? Madam Speaker, you have to study energy, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've been advised, Madam Speaker, that you need almost 40 acres of land to generate 10 megawatts of electricity, Madam Speaker. 40 acres of land, Madam Speaker. Huh? Flat land, Madam Speaker. So how it going to happen, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, here we have a report from the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Development, Madam Speaker. A December 10, 2005 report, Madam Speaker. And I'm not going to read the whole report, Madam Speaker. But what it says to us, Madam Speaker, is that the areas identified for possible wind farms is on the East Coast, Madam Speaker, on the East Coast. A matter like sun. You don't know when sun going to fall and rain going to fall, Madam Speaker. So, solar energy, Madam, you get rain for 10 days. How long the batteries can store the energy for, Madam Speaker? You have to have redundancy. And Madam Speaker, the report tells us, Madam Speaker, that in the East, Madam Speaker, and this study has been done, Madam Speaker, this study has been done. And I can tell you, Madam Speaker, some of the list, well, persons that were interviewed, 10 persons were interviewed. Number 10 is Dr. Lenzoni Church. Number 1 is Mr. Bevin Etienne. I'm not going to go, and well, I'm that number 5, because I was Minister of Energy at the time, Madam Speaker. I don't know Joel Hoggins, and Mr. Thomas Etienne, and Dr. J.A. Badwi. Madam Speaker, High Paul Brown, high powered people, Madam Speaker, were part of this study on our wind energy. And Madam Speaker, the report tells us that because of the sultry nature of the Dominican air, Madam Speaker, the wind turbines would not last. And so you had to incur additional cost, a lot of money, Madam Speaker, to get stainless steel, Madam Speaker, which was prohibitive for wind energy. Madam Speaker, wind farms are ugly. Have you seen these things, Madam Speaker, in the nature island? Madam Speaker, it might be necessary, but is it desirable? You really want to see 40 acres of Dominica and these windmills and these wind farms, Madam Speaker? No, Madam Speaker. So the study, Madam Speaker, has ruled out you can have your one little windmill and so on in your house and so on. That's fine, Madam Speaker. But to generate 7 to 10 megawatts, Madam Speaker, of wind, it doesn't make sense. Madam Speaker, on the issue of hydro, Madam Speaker, we have a report, Madam Speaker, on hydro, Madam Speaker, a report on the hydroelectric development in Dominica, north of Scotland hydroelectric, whatever, a 1975 report, Madam Speaker. And that report is saying to us that of the 5 rivers, Madam Speaker, the Lai River, the Boer River, the Makushri River, the White River, were studied, Madam Speaker. And the report is saying that the high level of rainfall and the steep gradient have resulted in massive erosion, with most rivers flowing in deeply incised valleys and carrying a heavy gravel and silt load. During floods, Madam Speaker, boulders weighing several tons may be carried considerable distance downstream. Madam Speaker, that is the report, Madam Speaker, and it says further that the geology of the island makes foundation conditions for a high dam very dubious. Problems which might be encountered with subterranean flow could prove to be very expensive and either high dammed or tunnels, Madam Speaker. That is the report on hydro, Madam Speaker. And it says, Madam Speaker, further, the construction of access road is very difficult in the mountainous part of Dominica, and the difficulty reaches the proportion of impracticality in many places where access to river is required, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, here it is, Madam Speaker, that having gone through all these studies and all these reports, and Madam Speaker, our partners, we have presented a case for geothermal energy, Madam Speaker. And all the international partners have agreed with us that geothermal energy is a possible option, Madam Speaker. The leader of the opposition says that after all the money that we've spent, after all the pledges that have been made to us, he will scrap the project. And what do you mean suspend it? So you will start it after then, Madam Speaker. Suspend is to reinstate. When prices go up, when everything becomes 3 times more expensive, you're going to redo it, Madam Speaker. If you stop anything, say you're going to stop the thing, Madam Speaker. No, suspend it. It's like when you hit somebody in school and they send you home then, and they suspend you then, Madam Speaker. Madam, when you fight in school, they suspend you, your mother come, your father come, you talk, and they might decide whether they want to take you back or there's expulsion. Or you might voluntarily decide you're leaving, you're not coming back in this thing, Madam Speaker. That's what suspension means to me. But you cannot have that. So when you suspend it, you're going back to them 3 years later and tell them you come back for the money they had offered you before. That's how it happens. No, Madam Speaker, you missed that boat, Madam Speaker. You missed that boat. So, Madam Speaker, that's what I'm saying. That the member for Marigot either didn't read what he was saying or he did not understand what he was trying to say, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, let's pull out another thing from the bag, Madam Speaker. I'm going to tell the budget passed already, so, you know. Madam Speaker, on the issue of the international airport, Madam Speaker, and the senator from Castle Bruce, Madam Speaker, he was part of the consult. You know, Madam Speaker, they claim that they're all consultants on that side. I don't know what test you have to write to when you become a consultant. But if consultant, Madam, all of us are consultants on the government side. If it's so easy to be a consultant, we sat here for 17 years fixing an economy. Today we can come to Parliament and present an over $8 billion or million. $8 million worth, Madam Speaker. 800 million. That the opposition support, Madam Speaker. They agree that it's a good budget, Madam Speaker. If it's so easy to be a consultant, then all of us on the government side are consultants, Madam Speaker. So, Joseph Isaac, I'll check you in a minute. Isaac Baptist, Madam Speaker, prized himself to be a consultant. And he was part of this standing and planning thing, Madam Speaker. And you know what it says, Madam Speaker? The Plan and Standing Site, Madam Speaker, Limited, the new airport master plan study undertaken by the UW administration in 1998, according to the review of the standing and planning, the site was deemed to be as follows. One, Madam Speaker, that's the site they chose was chosen because they were worried about the dislocation of human settlement within the Wesley and Woodford area. So because they had to move some people, they decided that site not good, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it states that the proposed runway orientation calls for a curved, non-precision approach for landing, which also classifies the airport as a visual airfield, Madam Speaker. It means, Madam Speaker, that you had to curve to land. So if there are any obstacles, Madam Speaker, it was a visual airport. You couldn't use instrument landing. You had to land by eyes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says further that the airfield cannot meet full instrumentation, Madam Speaker, or with the highest recommended procedure, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, it says the proposed airport meets conditional ICAO requirements, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are serious surface obstacles, infringement issues pertaining to the mountain at Mono Diab, Destiny, and Jablotin to a lesser extent, Madam Speaker. As well, it says the likely frequent closure of the airport for safety concerns due to inclement weather, heavy rainfall, and low cloud cover. That is the site that Isaac Baptist was a consultant on, Madam Speaker. Senator Isaac Baptist. Yes, sir. Madam Speaker, it says these surrounding terrain concerns will contribute to a displaced threshold, meaning a section of 10,000 feet runway would not be usable space. It says, Madam Speaker, the given limitation may require high-level negotiations with airlines operators in order to get included on their scheduled route, Madam Speaker. And they come to this Parliament and they say to us that the government not serious because they had the plan for the airport, they had all the land for the airport, and all they was going to do was to implement. Madam Speaker, had this thing gotten through, we would have had half an airport, Madam Speaker. After spending all that money, all you would get would be half an airport, Madam Speaker. And the member for Marigot says to us, he will build the airport in 5 years. All he wants in 7 years, all he wants is Mr. Scarrett must go and get the money for him, and he will build the airport, Madam Speaker. Lazy approach, Madam Speaker. Don't want to do no work as usual, Madam Speaker. The same money, Madam Speaker, that they condemn because where's Scarrett going to get the money for you? Where he getting the money all now, Madam Speaker. So he's giving the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, a task to go and find the money and leave it there, and I will spend it, Madam Speaker. And that is why, Madam Speaker, in the proposals by none of the members of the opposition, there is not $1 figure attached to none of their proposals, Madam Speaker. Not $1 figure. Nothing for the high-speed ferry. All they say is we'll bring free high-speed ferry to Dominica, Madam Speaker. And then, why isn't the name of the bus station? A transit station. A transit station, Madam Speaker. So, well, you see, man, they don't detail it. He might be making sense. But I don't know what he's saying, Madam Speaker, because to me, a public mass transit system looks like something that has to be undertaken by the government. So the government now has to go and buy buses now, Madam Speaker, and subsidize the price now. Because Babylon is what, $2? Jamaica is $1.50. Guyana is 20 cents, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, that works in the situation where we have high population, and that it works there. But a mass transit bus system cannot work here in Dominica, Madam Speaker. And on top of that, Madam Speaker, you're planning to displace all the bus drivers now, Madam Speaker. Yes. So we come here now talking about employment and to generate employment, and that is the plan of the United Workers' Party, to generate employment by putting the bus drivers out of business and getting involved in the transportation sector, Madam Speaker. That is the plan of the United Workers' Party, Madam Speaker, to fix this country. Madam Speaker, I listened to, I already said that the member for Roseau Central, Madam Speaker, the consultant, and he said he was an industrial engineer on top of it. Madam Speaker, this gentleman, between 2009 and 2013, this gentleman, Madam Speaker, got 2 lovely contracts from the European Union, Madam Speaker. One paying him 15,000 EC a month, twice times the salary of the Prime Minister. And the other one, Madam Speaker, paying him $12,000 a month, Madam Speaker. Yes. And they ran concurrently, Madam Speaker. So 15,000 a month and 12,000. And Madam Speaker, the terms of reference was to find and lock markets for agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, culture, to include the music industry, Madam Speaker. That is one. And under the business gateway, Madam Speaker, a 3-year contract, I think, Madam Speaker, to establish 20 new business and advance the export and expand 20 small businesses, Madam Speaker. That was handled by Dexter. That was the job. Paid 15 for one, 12 for one, Madam Speaker. And he comes here, Madam Speaker, brandishing 2 packaged products, Madam Speaker, which he was paid, Madam Speaker, to promote. He was paid, Madam Speaker, to do just that. Today, Madam Speaker, where is the lovely packaged products that he got paid handsomely for to develop, Madam Speaker? Over $500,000 he was paid, Madam Speaker. Over $500,000, Madam Speaker. Yes, 15 by 2 by 12, yes. And 12 by 2 by 3 by 12, yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this gentleman is in the manufacturing business himself. Small business. I know well, after we opened the bridge, he must have graduated from small to medium. Because the amount of bread and pizza that sell on that day, Madam Speaker, the amount of bread and pizza that sell for the opening of that bridge on May Day, Madam Speaker, he must have graduated, Madam Speaker. In fact, Madam Speaker, he had 2 branches. He had a branch in Portsmouth. He had a branch in Portsmouth, and with the rest of that history. Madam Speaker, that man is an expert in packaging and branding. I never see a plastic with Bread Mark Isaac's Bakery, Madam Speaker. I never see a bread that's saying Joseph's bread, Madam Speaker. I never see a package, Madam Speaker, saying $18 million bread, Madam Speaker. Because after this morning he made it for the $18 million bridge. Nothing, Madam Speaker. The same white plastic. This tie with a little green thing around it. The same white plastic, Madam Speaker. No branding, no name, no packaging, Madam Speaker. And that is a man that was paid $500,000 to teach people how to package their products, Madam Speaker. To an extent, Madam Speaker, where the bakery in Portsmouth, it failed, Madam Speaker. It failed, Madam Speaker, because of the competition, Madam Speaker. He couldn't brand or rebrand his product, Madam Speaker, and they had to put all the equipment outside by St. John's School, on the sidewalk, on the side of the road, Madam Speaker. And then he comes here and wanting to lecture us about branding and what we're doing wrong and how he would do it. You couldn't do it for yourself, Madam Speaker. You can have two plastic in your hand, one green and one white, shaking, saying about that is how we must do things, Madam Speaker. And your own business suffering under the same things you're an expert to do, paid $500,000 to do it, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker. It doesn't make sense, Madam Speaker. And that's what I'm saying to you, Madam Speaker. Had we, or are we to depend, Madam Speaker, on the member for Marigot and United Workers' Party, Madam Speaker, to assist the poor people of this country in their development, Madam Speaker, we would still be in 2005 and maybe 2004, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, getting to where we are today was not an accident, Madam Speaker. And we told the people of Dominica that we'll get you to that point. But we're not done, Madam Speaker. We cannot sit on our backside, Madam Speaker, and wait on our laurels. We can't sit on our laurels, Madam Speaker.
Well, withdraw that one because that's unparliamentary.
Yeah,
withdraw
laurels?
it and no, the first one.
Oh, the first one. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Withdraw it.
But I don't, well, on parliament.
And then continue with the laurel story.
Yes. Madam Speaker, I withdraw that one, Madam Speaker. I don't think when God creation is about. But it's okay, Madam Speaker. It's okay. Madam Speaker, we have to continue the struggle. But it's going to take an effort of every single one of us, Madam Speaker. And the opposition needs to understand that they have to change their tactics and change their strategy, Madam Speaker, because that strategy has been tried, has been tested, and it has failed, Madam Speaker. It cannot work, Madam Speaker, because we on this side of the House have demonstrated to the people of Dominica that give us the opportunity and we'll make it happen, Madam Speaker. It's not easy, Madam Speaker. It's not easy, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, you know, the painful part was when the Minister of Foreign Affairs drew it to the attention of the Parliament that this gentleman had written to the American Embassy, Madam Speaker. Member Marigot, Madam Speaker, saying that you must now scrutinize every single Dominican that applied to go to the United States, Madam Speaker, because they're coming from a country that harbors terrorism, Madam Speaker. They're coming from a country where we're selling passports to terrorists, Madam Speaker, at a time when all young children looking for their student visa because the government has offered them scholarships to study in the United States, Madam Speaker. The government has offered them scholarships to go and study in the United States, Madam Speaker. And they now have to travel to Barbados to get their student visas, Madam Speaker. And you're putting them under the microscope, Madam Speaker. You're putting them under the microscope for the American authorities, Madam Speaker, to scrutinize them, to harass them, to hustle them, Madam Speaker, and to deny them an opportunity to go to school and study because you didn't go to school and study. Because you missed your opportunity to study, you want to deny the children of poor people in Dominica, Madam Speaker, to go and develop themselves and to get a decent education. Madam Speaker, it cannot be right. It cannot be fair, Madam Speaker, when you're making plans for yours to go. So poor people cannot go, but two of yours can go at the same time, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is treason, Madam Speaker. Let's put it that way, Madam Speaker. Treason and terrorism, Madam Speaker. And that is what United Workers' Party is bringing onto the people of this country, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, and if you think I'm wrong, find out what happened in Salisbury, Madam Speaker. Find out what happened in Salisbury, Madam Speaker, when the police was stormed, Madam Speaker. When police vehicles were vandalized and destroyed, Madam Speaker. And subsequently, the member for Marigot went back to Salisbury and told the people of Salisbury that the next time the police come to Salisbury, you must stone them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker, sing it in song, Madam Speaker, sing it in song. That I can't sing like him, Madam Speaker, but cool wash bag, whatever, Madam Speaker. The leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker. And the member for Salisbury comes here and say he feels disrespected when he comes to talk and the Prime Minister listen. Who has disrespected the Parliament more than the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker? When his people, Madam Speaker, were out there with stone brigade ready to stone the same Parliament, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you ask for electoral reform. The Minister of Foreign Affairs had told you that you can only get electoral reform by an amendment to the legislation in the Parliament, Madam Speaker. And you bring your thugs and your goons there, Madam Speaker. Bags of stone, Madam Speaker, bags of stone, waiting for darkness to come, Madam Speaker, to stone the Parliament, Madam Speaker. And you're talking about respect, respect in the Parliament, Madam Speaker? No, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have to be careful. We have to be careful, Madam Speaker, because whatever you sow, so shall you reap, Madam Speaker. And if you reap violence and disrespect, you will, if you sow violence and disrespect, you will reap violence and disrespect, Madam Speaker. And the leader of the opposition is old enough to understand that, Madam Speaker. When you're small, because what is confronting him now is the fact, Madam Speaker, of his violent nature in school, Madam Speaker, in fourth form. That is what is now coming to haunt him, Madam Speaker, in his adult age, past 60 years, Madam Speaker. That is the problem, Madam Speaker, that the leader of the opposition, he cannot contain himself, Madam Speaker. That is the problem, Madam Speaker, that we have in this country with this opposition, Madam Speaker. And that is why the member for Roseau Central is now taking his foot and putting his foot down, Madam Speaker, to show who is man in the opposition, Madam Speaker. And that is why, and I agree with you, my brother, although we don't like it, because as long as Lennox Linton, the member for Marigot, remains the leader of the opposition, he's smooth sailing for the Dominican Labour Party. So we don't like what you're doing, but for the sake of Dominica, I agree with what you're doing, Madam Speaker. Let's get some true and real leadership in this country, if you can do it, Madam Speaker. But the quicker you guys get rid of Lennox Linton, member for Marigot, as leader of the UWP, is the better for you and the 6 seats you have there. Because we're coming for the rest, Madam Speaker. So why enjoy it while it lasts? Be leader of 6, Madam Speaker, because next time around you might just be leader of 2, Madam Speaker, because we're taking some. We're taking some, Madam Speaker. And we're not taking that through brag, Madam Speaker. We're taking that because of our performance in the economy, Madam Speaker, and because of the support that we're giving to disenfranchised people, because of the support and the comfort that we're giving to poor Dominican people and the middle-class people, Madam Speaker. That is where we will deal with it, Madam Speaker. We will deal with it on our performance in government, what we have done for the economy, and what we'll continue to do for the poor people of this country. Madam Speaker, on the issue of housing, Mr. Hall. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, the member for the senator from Castle Bruce came here making a whole waily about the government and our housing policy. Waily. Crying, Madam Speaker. About our housing policy, Madam Speaker, and our housing program. And we're not giving private people an opportunity to participate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have always said that we're willing to accommodate the private sector if they're ready to come, Madam Speaker, and we will make the lands available, we'll talk, and we'll deal with the housing matter, Madam Speaker. Some of them have come forward, Madam Speaker. The problem we have is the people who really require the housing, they cannot afford to give us the housing at the price, at an affordable price for the poor people of this country. Because, Madam Speaker, we put money at the aid bank. We put $5 million at the aid bank where the private people, private contractors and so on go and secure a loan and build your house. We put money at the Government Housing Loans Board, Madam Speaker, where public officers could go and secure their mortgage and take their loans and build their house, Madam Speaker. But let's understand, Madam Speaker, the housing revolution is multifaceted, Madam Speaker. Yeah. And there is room for everybody to play, Madam Speaker. And that is why we believe we have come of age, we have come to a stage where we can now provide housing, Madam Speaker, for the middle class. And it's spelled out in this budget, Madam Speaker, where we'll partner with the Social Security and seek to provide housing for the middle class, Madam Speaker. A man's going to come back with his fancy. And Madam Speaker, I would read you the policy, you know, Madam Speaker. In 1999, Madam Speaker, when the member for the senator from Castle Bruce, Senator Baptist, was a consultant on housing to United Workers' Party government. And that is here what he tells the UWP to put in the budget, Madam Speaker. During the last financial year, the government undertook a housing project to construct 35 units in Bath Estate. This has been completed. A new housing project underway in Yampis to construct 43 housing units. And Speaker, if you go there, you wouldn't see the 43 because it's still building, so half disappear already, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I talk about Marigot, housing Marigot, Madam Speaker. Not one that there, Madam Speaker. Payon, not one house that there in Marigot, Madam Speaker. Layu, Point Michel, Charlotte Valley, 45 units, St. Joseph, Newton, Portsmouth, all over the country, Madam Speaker, that Isaac Baptist was advising, Senator Baptist was advising the United Workers' Party on the housing program, on the housing policy. And again, they come back with this nonsense about this duty-free. Madam Speaker, the United Workers' Party had duty-free in 1999, Madam Speaker, on housing. Yet still, Madam Speaker, they left us with a debt of $9 million, Madam Speaker, to the LPO for housing, Madam Speaker. 9 million, why was the thing? 9 million, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and then another 50 million, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, if this duty-free thing was working, why would you, on top of the duty-free, incur debt of over 60 million for the same housing, Madam Speaker? The point is, Madam Speaker, the duty-free didn't capture the people that it was supposed to capture, Madam Speaker. Because to get duty-free, Madam Speaker, you have to buy. You have to buy it and get your duty-free. But if you cannot buy, then you cannot benefit from duty-free. And the persons requiring the housing could not take no mortgage, couldn't take no loan, so they could not afford to get any duty-free, Madam Speaker. So the duty-free of the United Workers' Party, the member for Roseau Central, it was ill-targeted, ill-timed, ill-advised, Madam Speaker, because that is why it was proven to be a total failure, Madam Speaker. A total failure, Madam Speaker. That is why this government, we met over 5,000 homes that were in need of repairs in this country. A report that your government study that they did, we met that study there, Madam Speaker, and we were short on the housing stock by 10,000 homes with your duty-free in 1999. And this government, through new policy and strategy, have reduced that 5,000 homes to maybe about 500, Madam Speaker, because we've done over 4,500 of those homes have been repaired by the Dominican Labour Party, Madam Speaker. And we have reduced on the housing, Madam Speaker, from 10,000 to maybe about 7,000 now, because we have constructed over 3,000 homes, Madam Speaker, brand new homes in Saint-Sauveur, Madam Speaker, in Hillsborough Gardens, Madam Speaker, in Bellevue Chopin, Madam Speaker, in Chance, in Portsmouth, Madam Speaker, in Castle Bruce, Madam Speaker, in Roseau North, Madam Speaker, in the Valley, Madam Speaker, in Saint-Anne Grand Bay, Madam Speaker, brand new homes, Madam Speaker, all of which have been given to the persons free of charge who really need housing, Madam Speaker. That is our housing record, Madam Speaker. And had we left that for the private sector, these people would never be able to own a house because they would not be able to afford it, Madam Speaker. And we have a responsibility to support, Madam Speaker, the less fortunate in our midst and our communities. Madam Speaker, Silver Lake, Madam Speaker. Have you passed Silver Lake and see that bright orange paint? Not you. I'm talking about you.
You have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, give me.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Minister for Housing be given an additional 10 minutes to complete his contribution to the budget.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I will take 5 to 1.
Second,
Okay. Madam Speaker.
take it easy.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. Say quickly. State, we have seen the apartment buildings in Emsall, and we've seen the transformation, Madam Speaker, that's taking place in Silver Lake. If you go to Silver Lake now, you will not recognize how the same Silver Lake you knew 5 years ago, Madam Speaker. Because of our housing policy, we have not only transformed the lives of the people of Silver Lake, but we have also transformed the environment, Madam Speaker, and given people a new lease of life, a new perspective, Madam Speaker. Now they have hope, Madam Speaker. In fact, I understood, Madam Speaker, that this year was the first time they got somebody going to college, Madam Speaker. Huh? First college graduate, Madam Speaker. You spent 3 years in college. We've been working on Silver Lake for the last 5 years, so it's we that do it. It's we that do it, Madam Speaker. It's Dominican Labour Party that do it, Madam Speaker. Gave the young girl the confidence, Madam Speaker, the confidence that she could go out there. She have a lovely home. She have a washroom, Madam Speaker, a washroom heavily criticized by the United Workers' Party. She can now sit down and study and did well, Madam Speaker, and graduate from college. That is what the government has been doing for the poor people of this country, all across the country, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, housing, Madam Speaker, we're not going to talk about what's happening in Bellevue. In Bellevue Chopin, Madam Speaker. The member of Parliament has dealt with that, Madam Speaker. The residents of Jubic, Madam Speaker, have dealt with that. Washrooms, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we spent over 15 million. My ministry alone has spent 9 million on washrooms. Plus, under constituency empowerment, we spent another 5 million, Madam Speaker. And that program will continue, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, our record on housing in this country cannot be touched, Madam Speaker. It cannot be compared, Madam Speaker, with no other government, Madam Speaker. A comprehensive housing policy that deals with the provision of land, that deals with housing, that deals with service lots, that deals with squatter regularization, that deals with a special program for the Carib territory, Madam Speaker, and that deals with the sanitation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just to say a few things about the constituency, Madam Speaker, as we speak, and Madam Speaker, I made the point. That is the first time in the history of this country that you didn't know when a budget ended, when a financial year ended, and when a new one started. Yeah. Because work has never stopped in the country, Madam Speaker. Work never stopped in the country, all across the country, including my constituency, Madam Speaker. Remember any days when you had to send public works workers home towards the end of the financial year and bring them back in the new financial year. Everybody working, Madam Speaker. Projects going on, Madam Speaker. That is the power of the Dominican Labour Party, Madam Speaker. In the Cottage constituency, Madam Speaker, the National Employment Program, they criticize it. But you made the point about 2 or 3 university graduates that will be roped in under that program, Madam Speaker. And the intention there is to go out there, perform, and the company will absorb you, Madam Speaker, at a university graduate salary. That is what you get in, Madam Speaker. You're not underpaid, Madam Speaker. Whether you're in the bank, whether you're in the credit union, Madam Speaker, that is what it is, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the NEP, Madam Speaker, the Yes We Care, the construction of the roads, playing fields, Madam Speaker, housing, Madam Speaker, everything I'm telling you about is now taking place right now, Madam Speaker, in the Cottage constituency. And Madam Speaker, it's no surprise to the residents of Cottage. They've elected me 3 or 4 times. And there's a rumor going around that I'm not running again, Madam Speaker. Well, they tell me they fan. Thank God, they fan. Thank God, they fan. Don't even think about it, Madam Speaker, you're not running again, Madam Speaker. They said, don't even think about you not running again, Madam Speaker, because they have placed their trust and their confidence in me and the Dominican Labour Party, Madam Speaker. Because we have taken them, Madam Speaker. You could used to go to Tukari before, going down that hill there, Madam Speaker, precipice on your left, precipice on your right. People are afraid to come to Tukari. And I know you just go there, Madam Speaker. I know you go in there. Things are happening down there. What they find me now? Never, Madam Speaker, never. And Madam Speaker, you see the transformation taking place in Tukari. Beautiful place, Madam Speaker. Restaurants and bars and tourism kicking, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, keep it real. And I must compliment, Madam Speaker, the young man, Derek Augustine, Madam Speaker, for having that place there. Madam Speaker, the traffic, I don't know what, I have to talk to the PM about that. Because on Sundays, you can pass in Tukari, Madam Speaker. Tukari just like Mero now, Madam Speaker. Sundays, people come down to Tukari and clean water and eat the lobster like everywhere else, like Sunset Bay, Madam Speaker. That's what's happening in Tukari right now. Good food, Madam Speaker. Good food, Madam Speaker. Good food, Madam Speaker. You can attest to that, Madam Speaker. And the beachfront, Madam Speaker, the other place just on this side there. You've been there, Cassius? Yes, I'm the member for Caritas Come and Beef, Madam Speaker. That's why I got to come and beef in the city. Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and that is how we're transforming, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. And that is outside of the feast, Madam Speaker. Outside of the feast, you see Blackmore trying to follow me with my feast, man, but he can't touch me. Because the environment is different. Remember from Maho, Madam Speaker. The minister from Maho, Madam Speaker. He can't touch my feast. Oh, the Minister of Social Justice. National Security, man. So, Madam Speaker, the works of the Dominican Labour Party is there to be seen. And naturally, so the works of the Labour Party is there to be seen, Madam Speaker. And I really don't want to come to the Parliament and to tell everybody what's going on in the Cottage constituency. It's very clear, Madam Speaker. And Cottage and the Kapinski Hotel, Madam Speaker, is going up. And I'm worried, a little worried, Madam Speaker, that hotel will be completed and we may not be ready for it, Madam Speaker. At the rate that hotel is going, Madam Speaker, we have to put the systems in place to make the hotel work, Madam Speaker, because you have to make it work. And that's why, Madam Speaker, I'm not reviewing my list under small business, Madam Speaker. We have held our meetings, 120 persons have applied, Madam Speaker. 57 of them, the applications are complete and together and in order, Madam Speaker. The others are missing invoice, missing something. And we have to review it, Madam Speaker, to see exactly what is the small business that they want to get involved in. Because we have to get involved in a small business that will be compatible to what is taking place, Madam Speaker, in that part of the constituency, Madam Speaker. And you can take it as far as Silver Beach, you have the Moroccan Hotel, you have the National Trail, Madam Speaker, up to Capuchin, Madam Speaker. And we have to review those, and we have to advise people, Madam Speaker, what is it that we believe that we can support you so that you can support the hotel, Madam Speaker. Of course, you have existing businesses that need a little top-up and so on. You have the grocery shops and so on, Madam Speaker. You have the bars and so on that need some help. We can do that too, Madam Speaker. But we are confident, Madam Speaker, that with the development plan of this country, with the use of the resources, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, and they have it done as if the CBI fund, you just go there and come back with CBI. It's hard work, Madam Speaker. It's hard work, Madam Speaker, to raise the money, to give people the confidence that you can come and invest your money in Dominica, Madam Speaker. And even after what the leader of the opposition tried to black-eye the face of Dominica, Madam Speaker, we have not relented. Our Prime Minister had to go back, Madam Speaker, to the Middle East 2 or 3 times to convince the investors that don't worry, this mad fella, Madam Speaker. Things are all right in Dominica. Don't worry, the member for Marigot.
No, you have to
I withdraw
that.
the mad fella. Let's take that back, Madam Speaker. But we had to go out there, Madam Speaker. Because it's not to say, Madam Speaker, people are waiting for it. They don't know what to do with the money they have. And they're waiting for it to come, Madam Speaker. It doesn't work that way. You have to go out and promote the program, Madam Speaker. And you saw in the budget the amount of money that we spend on promotion. And it's paying off, Madam Speaker. And I have no problem in giving up 5 million to make 25 million, Madam Speaker. I have no difficulty with that, Madam Speaker. No difficulty whatsoever that you have to pay for the promotion, and it's working. They say it's not sustainable, but it may not be sustainable. And what we're doing, Madam Speaker, with all the measures that we put in place, with the money for the manufacturers, with the money for the tourism sector, Madam Speaker, with the money for agriculture, we're hoping that we can transition, when the time comes, out of the CBI revenues into sustainable revenue, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, it goes both on the social front and on the economic front, Madam Speaker, because we have a responsibility to transform lives and to change the life of our people, Madam Speaker, and to give Dominicans the pride that there is hope, Madam Speaker. There is hope, Madam Speaker, because in this budget, we can see hope, Madam Speaker. We used to talk about hope. But hope is here, Madam Speaker. The hope is right here in this budget that we're debating, Madam Speaker. What we have to do is to make best use of the hope, to take advantage of the hope, Madam Speaker, and give people the confidence, Madam Speaker. We have to maintain a safe and secure country, Madam Speaker. People have to be able to come to our country, and this stone throwing every day, Madam Speaker, this burning of the streets, Madam Speaker, this burning of the city, it has to stop, Madam Speaker. It has to stop, Madam Speaker. And if the members of the opposition have anything to do with it, I tell them today that they have to stop it, Madam Speaker. Because it's not going anywhere. It's not taking us anywhere. Find another way to fight with the government, Madam Speaker. Because everything that they level against us have been proven to be untrue and incorrect. And men paying, Madam Speaker, for the wrong things and the bad things they say about this country and about this government, Madam Speaker. We have to stop it. We have to be a little more patriotic, Madam Speaker, and let the opposition find other ways of trying to get rid of this government, but trying to destroy the country, trying to burn down the country to get to where you want to go. It's not going to happen, Madam Speaker, because the people of Dominica, they have tested the government, Madam Speaker. They know what the government is capable of. They knew where we came from in 2000, and they know the slow grind, Madam Speaker, that we had to take to get us to where we are now, Madam Speaker. And the people of Dominica are not going back, Madam Speaker. We're not going back to where we were, Madam Speaker. And the policy of the United Workers' Party yesterday is the same policy that they have today, Madam Speaker. And that policy has been defeated, Madam Speaker, and that policy will never be replayed in our beautiful country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, may God continue to bless our country. Give us the strength, Madam Speaker, and the energy as a Dominican Labour Party to continue to push the development agenda of the government. Madam Speaker, in closing, Madam Speaker, I need to thank all those who have walked this journey with us, Madam Speaker, in the Ministry of Finance, at the ministerial level, my PS, my housing manager, the staff of all the ministries, Madam Speaker, because those that are diligent have really played their part and put the energy, Madam Speaker, in making it happen, Madam Speaker. And I am sure that they too have children that will benefit from it. So this is not for us we're doing this, Madam Speaker. We're doing this for the next generation, Madam Speaker. We are entrusted with this country to prepare it and to leave it in a stable position for the next generation. And for all those, Madam Speaker, our families, our constituents who have assisted us along this journey, we want to continue to wish them Godspeed, God's blessing, Madam Speaker, and that we continue on our development for us to ensure that when we leave, we can look back and say, I was part of that renaissance. I was part of that project, Madam Speaker. I was part of the process. We may not be rich, we may not have plenty of money, but the pride, Madam Speaker, the pride of knowing that this is the work of our hands, this is the work of our mouth, and this is the work of our head. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, we have heard several contributions to this budget debate, Madam Speaker, and there really isn't much for me to say. But it would be remiss of me not to place on record my support for this budget 2017-2018. Madam Speaker, this budget under the title Realizing a Modern, Prosperous Dominica is, Madam Speaker, one which all right-minded Dominicans and those who listened to the masterful presentation of that budget by the Honourable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance will say is a budget of hope, a budget of purpose, a budget which espouses modernization, and, Madam Speaker, a budget of progressiveness. Madam Speaker, the budget addressed by the Honourable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, one line states as follows: our economic goal of realizing a modern, prosperous Dominica fits well within our overarching vision of a peaceful and just Dominica. Madam Speaker, the last part of that is as important, I would suggest, as the former, which is a peaceful and just Dominica. Because, Madam Speaker, when all is said and done, the budget presentation, all of the fiscal measures, and all that is contained within the budget, the objective, Madam Speaker, is for the people of Dominica to be able to experience a just and peaceful existence in this beautiful land of ours. Madam Speaker, the budget clearly addresses the requirement for us to progress by way of modernization, and it does so in a number of respects. And a number of the speakers, Madam Speaker, have pointed out that the budget is clearly following an agenda, a planned agenda for the development of this country, and following the historical progress that the country has made under this government. And, Madam Speaker, it is clear, if one looks at a few of the measures in the budget, that that is so. As regards the issue of modernization, Madam Speaker, you and those who listened would have recalled that the Minister for Finance, the Prime Minister, made reference to a plan for, in effect, an improvement, a rebranding of Roseau and of Portsmouth, and that there were measures that would be brought forward to ensure that that improvement, renaissance of those two areas took place. Madam Speaker, the budget also addresses the needs of middle-income families and middle-income individuals insofar as housing is concerned. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, in relation to small businesses, there is a clear thrust to improve and expand upon the existence of small businesses in Dominica, even including putting small business operations on a legislative footing. Fourthly, Madam Speaker, the improvement in air access to Dominica. And you will recall, Madam Speaker, the reference to the ongoing moves to shortly introduce direct flights to Dominica from the United States in the first instance. And of course, Madam Speaker, the plans, the concrete plans for the development of an international airport in the near future. And finally, Madam Speaker, in the matters that I am referring to, the construction of a multi-purpose sports complex. Madam Speaker, if one looks at those items together, one will see that they really address pretty much the whole gamut of the existence of a person. So the environment that one lives in, the development or improvement of the towns of Roseau and Portsmouth, or should I say the city of Roseau and the town of Portsmouth, the personal development of individuals by way of the middle-income housing proposals, the development of individuals and small businesses, which are the nub of many societies, and the access to Dominica, or I should say access and exit, the means of getting into and departing from Dominica, thereby also contributing to the economic development of Dominica, and of course, a sports complex which will address the health needs of Dominica and Dominicans. So, Madam Speaker, how does this manifest itself? Well, Madam Speaker, there is the address of the tax threshold. And this government has consistently, from coming into office, reduced the tax threshold. Madam Speaker, I think it was $15,000 or thereabouts when the government came in. And that has been steadily reduced, and it has been a constant theme of the government that it intends to reduce increase the threshold, but reduce the amount of tax that individual taxpayers pay from the monies that they earn. Madam Speaker, a $30,000 tax threshold is a significant threshold in an economy like ours. When one takes into account the earnings of the workers and considers that, in effect, what that will mean is that every person earning some $2,500 per month or thereabouts will pay no income tax. Madam Speaker, I think that that measure is a very significant measure indeed, and will go a long way to assisting individuals to be able to better enjoy the money that they earn. And of course, the budget didn't stop there. The Honourable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance made it clear that he would desire to see a tax rate of 35% at least in the first instance, and that his ultimate goal would be the elimination of income tax altogether. Madam Speaker, it's quite clear that if and hopefully when we are able to get to the position of perhaps first a 35% rate and then elimination, or maybe we can get to elimination without stopping at a 35% rate, that of course that would be a wonderful thing for all of those who work in Dominica. I would very much like, Madam Speaker, to be able to take home all that I earn, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in here who is in that position. Madam Speaker, geothermal. This, Madam Speaker, is an interesting element, because the Leader of the Opposition, and it's been addressed by others, so I don't intend to go into it in any detail, but Madam Speaker, it was astonishing to sit here and hear the Leader of the Opposition some would say a prime minister in waiting, or at least a prime minister, hopefully. He would doubtless hope that the people of Dominica would someday give him the opportunity to sit, as somebody says, in that chair. And to hear a person in that position come to this house and say to the listening world that a geothermal project that has been ongoing for a number of years, that has shown its development, that has shown that experts, basically in the field, from the major countries that know about this type of thing, that they support it. They support it not only by their words, but, Madam Speaker, they have contributed their support by way of their taxpayers, the taxpayers of their respective countries. They have shown that by way of grants and by way of loans. We're talking about countries like New Zealand. We're talking about countries like United Kingdom. We're talking about CISDOC, that organization. These have all indicated by way of finance, hard cash, that this is a project that they support, that this is a project which is in the benefit and interest of the Dominican population, the Dominican consumer. The government has explained how that would benefit the population, the individual consumer, those of us, all of us have electricity at our homes, how it would also benefit industry, commerce, trade, and for the leader of the opposition to stand up and say that if he were in the position to do so, that he would effectively abolish this whole project, Madam Speaker, is utterly astonishing. And it is even more astonishing that he seemed to express a belief that the monies that have been pledged to this project by these various governments and by the World Bank could simply be switched to another project. And, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Minister for Housing dealt very eloquently with the, I should say, foolishness of that whole concept, Madam Speaker. Demonstrated very clearly that what was perhaps the sole counter-proposal of the leader of the opposition in his response to the budget was completely without foundation and without merit, and, Madam Speaker, was really something which demonstrated a lack of comprehension and understanding of what would really be in the best interest of Dominica and the consumers in Dominica. Madam Speaker, the geothermal project is soldiering on, and I look forward to the day in the not-too-distant future when we will all be enjoying the fruits of geothermal energy, and we will all, Madam Speaker, be enjoying the benefits of the increased commercial activities that will flow from the reduced cost of electricity. Madam Speaker, that takes me to the issue of CBI, which was addressed in the budget and which was also addressed in the response. Madam Speaker, we are all aware, I suspect, of what I describe as the unconscionable behavior and actions of the opposition, and in particular the leader of the opposition, in respect to the CBI program in Dominica. And the CBI program, Madam Speaker, is one which I think I am well placed to speak on. It is something that I have defended over the years that I have been in this office, because I have been, Madam Speaker, intimately involved in that program. For it to be suggested, Madam Speaker, that the CBI program in Dominica is any less secure, is any less rigorous, any less robust in its operation than any of the other CBI programs that are operated in this region and perhaps, Madam Speaker, around the world, it is really either to be mischievous, wicked, or ignorant. Madam Speaker, the CBI program that we have been running in Dominica has had and still has the support, and by use of the term support, I mean involvement of leading due diligence companies, not Dominican companies, but internationally recognized due diligence companies. That has been said repeatedly Repeatedly that has been said by myself, by the Honorable Prime Minister, by other ministers, by officials. Yet still, the Leader of the Opposition and others persist in claiming that there is no due diligence or that the due diligence that is conducted is inadequate. And they do so, Madam Speaker, without a shred of evidence that what they claim is correct. As we know, Madam Speaker, the program has been running for many years. It was started under the Freedom Party, and the United Workers' Party, when it came in, did not abolish it. They continued it. They called it a re-engineered program, but they continued it. And Madam Speaker, there is no way under the sun that the program that United Workers' Party was operated with a more rigorous due diligence process than what is in existence now. So for them to be making the allegations that they're making is really, Madam Speaker, rich. It is even worse for them to be conspiring and collaborating with foreign entities, some might call them foreign economic mercenaries, to destroy our citizenship by investment program. Again, Madam Speaker, they do so without offering, as the Leader of the Opposition did in his response, without offering any substantive alternative proposals. They do not say what they would do differently and how they would do it differently. More importantly, how they would do it better. Madam Speaker, the monies, the revenue that this government has been able to raise from the Citizenship by Investment Program is of extreme importance to each and every Dominican. As has been said, we don't know how long the program will be able to remain in existence. There are matters as regards the program that are not necessarily within our control. But, Madam Speaker, what we should be doing as a country and as citizens, that's the opposition as well as the government side, is doing everything that we can to ensure that the Citizenship by Investment Program is sustained and exists for as long as possible. We should not, Madam Speaker, and it seems to me, and I would say with no hesitation, that no honorable, honest, and true patriot of this country could be seeking to undermine the Citizenship by Investment Program. Madam Speaker, I would simply say this as regards the program. The facts speak for themselves. The figures, as enunciated in the budget, clearly demonstrate that the Citizenship by Investment Program has put us in a position where we have a budget. And funny enough, we've got to the position now that we have been debating a budget for the past several days of over $500 million. In fact, we are over $750 million. And Madam Speaker, it's not very long ago that many would have been looking forward to that $500 million budget. You remember, Madam Speaker, we used to come with 300 million, 350, 400. I think there was even one point when the Leader of the Opposition was suggesting that, you know, we're not doing anything because St. Kitts has this. And so, Madam Speaker, what I would expect is to hear the Leader of the Opposition and the Opposition jumping up and saying, hooray, hooray, we are going places, we are flying. But that's not what we're hearing, Madam Speaker. What we're hearing from them is an attempt to denigrate what is being done by this government, to denigrate the achievements of the government, and in fact, by extension, to denigrate the achievements of the Dominican public. Madam Speaker, that is really something that the opposition ought to ask itself serious questions about. They ought to ask themselves whether that is really the way they want to go, whether what they see is to take the term opposition in its literal sense and simply oppose for opposing's sake, or whether they want to make themselves a relevant opposition, which is founded in opposing on principle and on merit. So, Madam Speaker, if something is wrong, they think, by all means oppose. But, Madam Speaker, it seems to me what they should be doing is saying, this is proposed by the government, it is wrong, and it is wrong for these reasons. And these are the ways in which it can be improved. This is the way in which, if I were in power, if we were in power, this is how we would do it. This is how much we think this will cost. For example, Madam Speaker, in the response, as has been said, I don't recall hearing a single utterance from any of the members on the other side as to how much any of the proposals that they were suggesting would cost. So in other words, anybody can say, we should do this, we should build a castle, we should build 10 castles. But how are you going to pay for the 10 castles? And how much are the 10 castles going to cost? Not one of them said anything of that nature, Madam Speaker. And indeed, interestingly, the actual suggestions, such as they were, came from various members of the opposition, but not from the leader himself. So, Madam Speaker, I will seek to conclude by just addressing a few concerns that I have, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the first of those is the opposition's approach, and led by the leader of the opposition, as regards the issue of electoral reform. It's been touched by other speakers, so I don't wish to go into it in detail. But, Madam Speaker, it is of importance. Because, Madam Speaker, remember that the government came to this House with bills, House of Assembly Elections Amendment Bill and the Registration of Electors Amendment Bill, to this House with two bills addressing the areas and the issues that the opposition have for years been complaining about, been agitating about, been bringing people out on the streets, been claiming that this or these issues are a problem. And the government, having taken time to listen to the views of the opposition and to others, put together bills and brought them to this House. The opposition, Madam Speaker, despite claiming that the matters in those bills were critical to the very democratic framework that we understand, and in fact our democratic existence, what did they do? They agitated, they brought protesters and ne'er-do-wells to gather, to congregate outside the precincts of the House of Assembly. And, Madam Speaker, those bills were not proceeded with. We now still hear calls for what they claim is cleaning of the list. But, Madam Speaker, the bills that they agitated against and demanded be withdrawn contained provisions for re-registration. In effect, Madam Speaker, cleaning of the list. They claimed they wanted identification cards. The bills that they agitated again and insisted be withdrawn provided for identification cards. Madam Speaker, everything that they asked for were contained in those bills. And they did not say, Madam Speaker, that they wanted A, B, and C. They simply said they wanted those bills withdrawn and not proceeded with. I wait to hear, Madam Speaker, what they're now going to say, because really it seems to me the ball is in their court. They claimed that they were doing so because the government was seeking to legitimize bribery and cheating. Well, Madam Speaker, I want to put it on the record, because I have not yet spoken on this, but I just want to put it on the record, that I certainly do not take kindly to the suggestion that I was involved in seeking to legitimize anything that is illegal. And I certainly know that the government was not seeking to do so, and it would not have been the case. The government was simply clarifying the law. That was what it sought to do. The law is what it is. But it seems, Madam Speaker, that some of us, and we see it demonstrated time after time in this House, some of us have hard heads. And we only see and hear and understand what we want to see, hear, and understand. And so therefore, it was necessary to spell out in clear terms, in black and white, what is there for them, but in a term which would allow them to understand it quite clearly. And perhaps, Madam Speaker, it is that concern, that fear that they had, that now they would no longer be able to be claiming that there was bribery, that there was cheating. And maybe, Madam Speaker, it was that caused them to take the actions that they did. But I hope, Madam Speaker, that they will be able to live with the consequences of their actions. Madam Speaker, there's another issue of importance that I think the House is the place to raise it. It may be dealt with further elsewhere, but it is the behavior, Madam Speaker, of commissioners of the Electoral Commission. Absolutely disgusting and unacceptable behavior, Madam Speaker. It cannot be right, Madam Speaker, for persons who have been appointed to the Electoral Commission, a body of the significance of the Electoral Commission, to be sitting on that body and then leaving that body and going outside and discussing in the public what takes place in that body. Madam Speaker, that is not something that we would entertain and accept in the Boy Scout movement. It cannot be right, Madam Speaker, for that to be happening in this country. And it's very difficult for me to understand how members of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, and all of the other members of the opposition can feel that it is right for that to take place. And I have to say they can feel it's right because I am not aware, I've not heard any of them condemn it, and as far as I can make out, none of them have condemned it. And Madam Speaker, that behavior is behavior that has to be condemned, and in my humble opinion, those commissioners, if they cannot conduct themselves in a proper way, should be removed by whatever, they should be removed from that commission because they are not, in my respectful view, fit and proper people to serve on such a body. If you cannot respect basic decency, basic courtesy, and basic norms, how then are you able to come and claim that you have you are the guru of governance? The opposition always talk about governance. If you can't respect basic decency, which is what that is, you're in a body, you're appointed. How can you be going outside and talking about what is taking place in that body, even to the point of saying who said what? It means that the body cannot function properly. So, Madam Speaker, I had to place it on record here in this House because I think this is where it should be placed, that behavior, in my view, is unacceptable, and I will maintain that, and I will do whatever I can to ensure that those who are appointed to those bodies such as that conform to the proper norms and conduct themselves properly. And if they cannot do so, that, Madam Speaker, the appropriate course.
You have 4 minutes left.
Madam Speaker, I would simply finally go to the issue of the rule of law, which is really moving from where I just was. Madam Speaker, the rule of law is critical to any society. And we have found ourselves in Dominica at a place where law seems to me, when I go about my business daily, that people seem to feel that they can do whatever they want. And we see it in this House, time after time. So certain members feel that they don't have to regard the rules. Whatever they think should happen, that's what should happen. Doesn't matter what the rule is, it's what they think. And that seems to be permeating the wider society. And, Madam Speaker, it's something that we need to take seriously and we need to do something about. We see it, Madam Speaker, in the prevalence of firearms and even the increase in use of firearms. And, Madam Speaker, I take the opportunity here to say this. This House in 2011 passed legislation, firearms legislation, repealing the formerly existing legislation, and bringing in legislation which was stringent in terms of what it was intended to do. I would call upon those who have the responsibility for enforcing the law to bring to bear the force of the law as it is now. Not as it was, as it is now. Parliament, it is Parliament that makes the law and determines what the law is. The courts interpret it. And, Madam Speaker, this Parliament, and I believe that the bill as it then was, which became the Act, the Firearms Act that now exists, number 3 of 2011, I believe my recollection is correct, that it was supported by both sides of the House. So, Madam Speaker, the Parliament is very clear that what should prevail is strong sentences for those who find themselves in possession of firearms and ammunition unlawfully. And I would really like to see that those responsible for ensuring that the law takes effect do so and reflect the Act as it now stands. Madam Speaker, that may well be by way of increased sentences, it may be by other means. But, Madam Speaker, I certainly would support increased sentences to reflect the Act as it now stands. Madam Speaker, I think with those few words, I really would simply say that I have no hesitation whatsoever in giving my wholehearted support to this budget. It is a budget that really we look forward to being able to develop on in the year to come. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, I rise to wind up the debate on the 2017-2018 budgetary proposals. But, Madam Speaker, before I go on, I want to first of all recognize the sterling contributions from the members of the government side. Everybody here accounted for himself and herself very well in reporting on last year's performance and stewardship, but also explaining some of the progressive policies articulated in this year's budget. But, Madam Speaker, were I a legal practitioner, I would be tempted on this occasion to enter a no-case submission. In response, Madam Speaker, to this feeble attempt by the parliamentary opposition to respond to this year's financial statement and budgetary proposals. I said this year's and not last Thursday's because by now it is clear to all Dominicans that the leader of the opposition and his colleagues in Parliament did not respond to the budget as presented on Thursday. Madam Speaker, I feel some sympathy for the leader of the opposition because he is insecure in his abilities. He was so clearly unsure of his ability to respond to the budget on his feet that he chose to write his budget speech before he had even heard the speech. Madam Speaker, he made a bet that this government, blessed with strong public finances, would not grasp the opportunity to place Dominica on a new trajectory of growth and development. And they have done so repeatedly. Every time they make a bet on this government, Madam Speaker, they lose that bet. His response, Madam Speaker, had no critique of the specific initiatives brought to this Honorable House. It made no mention of the bold steps to make our income tax rates more competitive, boosting incentives to work, and the need to develop an entrepreneurial spirit and character in our society. It doesn't matter whether they agree with the policies or not. Every single one of the policies enunciated in this budget address, Madam Speaker, will affect in a positive way the lives of every single of our citizens in Dominica. And therefore, our people need to know, how does the opposition view these policies and programs? Because it will impact on their lives, Madam Speaker. He comes here and he says that the Parliament, there needs to be more parliamentary scrutiny of fiscal measures. But in the budget address, Madam Speaker, had he waited to prepare his response to the budget, he would have seen that the government is now adopting international best practice by the establishment of a fiscal policy panel, which will provide independent scrutiny and critique of the government's fiscal policies. But that panel will also be invited to the Parliament. These will be 3 independent experts in their fields, Madam Speaker. But he had nothing to say about the fiscal policy panel. But he preferred to amend the Constitution because what he proposed requires serious amendment to the Constitution of Dominica. So they don't even realize that the proposal which they pointed out would require amendments to the Constitution of the country, Madam Speaker. The leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker, has a duty to propose alternatives. And we can say, Madam Speaker, that there has been an abandoning of his responsibility, dereliction of responsibility, Madam Speaker, for not taking the time and prepare a positive alternative to what the government has been prepared. And Madam Speaker, this is the first time in the history of our parliament this has happened. Not even when Mr. Hector John, the member of Salisbury, former leader of Ocean, was there. I mean, in all fairness to the youngster, Madam Speaker, he would try a little thing here and there, though he could not comprehend most of what he said then.
But he tried.
But he tried.
Yeah, he tried.
With his abilities. But the leader of the opposition now is taking a lazy man's approach towards the very high responsibility which he now has, that of leader of the opposition. But what this has revealed, Madam Speaker, to the Dominican people is that the leader of the opposition has very little ideas of his own, if any. And it also revealed, Madam Speaker, that some of the proposals from the leader of the opposition and the parliamentary opposition in Dominica to this parliament and this country are very dangerous. They're very dangerous, Madam Speaker. When he proposes to have a budget prepared with primary surplus of 6% of GDP, we must examine how would you go about achieving this 6%? What we would need to do as a country to achieve this 6%? This primary surplus of 6% of GDP, Madam Speaker. They offer no ideas as to how he would do so, other than raising VAT. And let me say to the people of Dominica, that in my consultation with independent experts on looking at Dominica's situation, and advising on what would have to happen in terms of our budgetary system situation to cause now to have to be a 6% of GDP, Madam Speaker, the experts have said to me, Madam Speaker, we would need to do many things in Dominica. First, you would have to increase the VAT of the rate of VAT to 25%, Madam Speaker. Understand this? You would have to increase the rate of VAT from 15% to 25%. In addition to that, Madam Speaker, you would have to dramatically cut the budgets of health, education, and all of the social programs which are benefiting the people of Dominica. So when men read things, Madam Speaker, you see in this position, Madam Speaker, you have to be advised sometimes. I have my own views, but there are things that you have to sound it by people. What do you think? Check this out for me. Advise me on this. And even when people advise you on something, you must even seek advice from somebody else to get a different perspective. That's right. So this is what you have to do. To understand this, Madam Speaker, we have to be very careful. And the experts are saying to me that this proposal would plunge the Dominican economy into recession. Plunge it into recession, increase unemployment. Mr. Member for Rosa Central, the expert on everything in this house. Increase unemployment. That's what the experts are saying to me. And will create dramatic inequality within our country, which means poverty would rise, indigence would rise. These are the proposals presented by the parliamentary opposition. as an alternative government. Just plagiarizing things from different speeches, copy and pasting, Madam Speaker, not understanding what somebody else has written, they want to come and repeat, and you could see this discomfort with the presentation. So this is what you're going to do. So, Madam Speaker, the Dominican Labour Party, which I have the honor to lead, we reject the policy of trying to grow the economy by increasing taxation in Dominica. We reject that, Madam Speaker. We reject any policies that will come about to reduce spending on education and spending on health, Madam Speaker. As a matter of fact, in this budget, as you've seen in all budgets we have brought to this Parliament, from 2001, we've been increasing the budget for health and education. How can you put proposals now to defund education and to defund health? It cannot be right. This government, Madam Speaker, reject the IMF prescription because the IMF is not a development bank. They're not a development bank, Madam Speaker. So he comes here and to pad his speech, he includes so much of IMF. All of a sudden he's the IMF man. Because he go to one little workshop and he met an IMF person and he did like a presentation and he got the card and emailed the person. Now he's the IMF guru, the leader of the opposition. Quoting also IMF. IMF said this, IMF said that. But the IMF is not a bank that deals with development issues. The IMF comes in to rescue countries. Dominica doesn't need any rescuing from the IMF. Our debt to GDP is not 120% or more. That's when the IMF comes in. When your debt to GDP ratio is 120 plus, they come in to rescue you. The bank of last resort, that's what they call themselves. Madam Speaker, our debt to GDP ratio, our national debt now stands at 67%. And if you take out our guarantees to the aid bank and to DUASCO, it will be 51%. Central government debt to GDP ratio would be at 51% if we remove our guarantees to the aid bank and to DUASCO. And our guarantees to DUASCO is to bring potable water to every part of Dominica. And our guarantees to the aid bank is to give cheaper financing to the private sector in Dominica to create jobs. So it's an investment. So we don't want no IMF prescriptions when we do not need them. IMF is they are friends, they're my friends, I like them, they like me too. But we don't need them. Because they have confirmed, Madam Speaker, that there is no fiscal unsustainability in Dominica at this stage. There is none. So we don't need the IMF in Dominica, as the leader of the party has indicated, that if he were to come into office, he would have an IMF program. Essentially, that's what it is. Essentially, he would have an IMF program in Dominica, austerity, tax on man, tax on woman. We are saying that we have brought our country with stable debt that we can afford to pay. Our fiscal policies are prudent and responsible. And now we are on onward march to creating higher levels of sustained growth in our country, thereby creating jobs, reducing unemployment, reducing poverty, Madam Speaker. And we're not unafraid to invest in people, to invest in the country, to invest in the private sector,
You have 4 minutes left.
to help. Madam Speaker, 4 minutes, right?
Only 20 minutes. No, only 20 minutes you have.
20 minutes,
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Prime Minister be given an additional 15 minutes to complete his wind-up of the budget debate.
Secondly, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Prime Minister be given a further 15 minutes to complete his winding up. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Please continue.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. They come here and talk about markets for agricultural produce. Madam Speaker, I can tell you, this is the best time for farmers in Dominica. This is the best time for farmers in Dominica. We're giving you the roads, cheap financing, inputs, Madam Speaker, highly subsidized prices or subsidized altogether, markets. We know farmers are not able to plant and they know for fact there are markets waiting for them. 1 20-foot container of dashing per week to a distributor in Florida, Madam Speaker, and they said nothing about that. And that has been going on for months, Madam Speaker. The supply of 1 20-foot container of dashing and other root crops per fortnight to a wholesaler in England, Madam Speaker. Steady, secured markets for our farmers. The increased supply of mixed produce to the regional market and re-entry into the UK banana market with the support of Windfresh. These things mean nothing to them. They talk about farmers. They try to use farmers for their own political ends. But they're not happy for the farmers. They're not happy that farmers are able to sell because they want farmers to complain that they're poor, they can't sell, they're dashing rotten in, the yam rotten in, Madam Speaker. The opposition loves to see people talking about misery. I am unemployed, boss, I know no work, no food. That's what it is. Madam Speaker, they mention nothing about the new national hospital. Nothing about the investments in health. Nothing, Madam Speaker, about the $5 million more that we have put in the budget to help people suffering from cancers and other illnesses in our country. Because they do not care about people. They do not care about people, Madam Speaker. And the member of House who is not there, instead of applauding this, he's saying, oh, we should spend the money for research. White people having cancer. So you're telling me that allow people to die and go and do a study to find out why the person got cancer? You see, security have a habit of taking soft. You're a dangerous man, you know, Madam Speaker. Nothing about it. The Chinese government, the People's Republic of China, the One China policy, a friend of Dominica, is giving us a gift of 117 million EC dollars. And not nowhere in your speech of 2 hours, you saying thanks to the Chinese. Nothing at all. The government of Mexico, in the budget, Madam Speaker, $5 million US that will go to the Marigot Hospital. And no reference to that. Zero. Instead, he read a speech that he delivered in June of 2014, Madam Speaker. And he plagiarized, he took from other people's speeches and he put it together. That's what it is. That's what it is, Madam Speaker. Nothing about it, Madam Speaker. In this financial year, we'll build a new health center in Viecas, a new health center in Coliho, a new center in Belleville Chopin, Madam Speaker, investing in the health, training people, training young Dominicans to take over the health system, Madam Speaker, and they make no reference to these things. It is not of interest to them, Madam Speaker. No interest at all. They don't even thank the UK government for investing about 5 hospitals and health centers to create smart clinics to withstand disasters, Madam Speaker. No, thank you. No reference to these things. These things don't. They're not interested in this, Madam Speaker. They're not interested in it at all. They're not interested in this thing, Madam Speaker. Then geothermal. He says we should go back to hydro. But Mr. Leader of the opposition, we have never left hydro. The man is totally disconnected to the country. And talk about wind. Madam Speaker, we have been able to secure the monies required to build the 7-megawatt plant. And I can tell you, Madam Speaker, the level of respect this government and this country has among the international community, Madam Speaker, is unprecedented. Unprecedented, Madam Speaker, where New Zealand was literally running after us. Take help from us. Look help, look help. They've been there with us. The UK government gave us the first 5. We wrote to them and said, look, man, guess how much, a something more. They add a 5 to it, 10 million US now. The United Arab Emirates, the Renewable Fund, they have committed to give us about 16 million dollars. The World Bank have been literally begging us to take money from them at 0.75% with a 10-year grace period and 40 years to repay. So the funding for the geothermal is there, and we are just at the threshold of bringing about cheaper energy to Dominica. And the leader of the opposition and the parliamentary opposition is telling us, look, scrap that. Delay the relief to the people of Dominica. Delay the relief to the manufacturers. Don't give Dominicans no help. Anything that is good for Dominica, Madam Speaker, they seek to destroy. It's bad. It's unacceptable. And we should stop it, Madam Speaker. No reference to our massive investment in infrastructure. If we did not have Erica, Madam Speaker, and because when you look at the amount of money that we spend to respond to Erica, just imagine, Dominicans, if as the Minister of Finance, we had this money to invest in our program which we enunciated in 2014. And notwithstanding Erica, Madam Speaker, we have been able to do Madam Speaker, I don't know if it's a four-letter word, but a good job, Madam Speaker. Yeah. You have to say bridge with it. Yeah. Oh, Madam Speaker, DAM job, Madam Speaker. Leave it at that, Madam Speaker. Because we have been responsible and prudent. We have been generous, but responsible. And my colleague can always tell you that. I always keep saying we have to be generous to the people of this country, but we also must be responsible. Because one bad mistake you make with the finance of the country can bring us back to the dark days. But nothing like this, Madam Speaker. Nothing about Tropical Storm Erica. Nothing about resettlement. Nothing about people who got help. Nothing about resettlement of his life. And we have done a remarkable job in the circumstance, Madam Speaker. Nothing about it, Madam Speaker. Nothing about it. Nothing about the road enhancement, the rehabilitation. The Chinese are doing a fantastic job in constructing these retaining walls. On the West Coast, Madam Speaker, nothing about it, the dredging of the rivers. Nothing about the income tax. We have taken the income tax threshold from $12,000, Madam Speaker, to up to $30,000. $30,000, Madam Speaker. And you're telling me you couldn't spend 2 minutes to talk about that? When 50% of the workers' supporters will benefit? And 50% of the working people of Dominica will benefit, Madam Speaker? That's of no interest to you? Zero? You're not happy that taxpayers will pay less come January 1st, 2018? Nothing at all, Madam Speaker. And that will take the tax. The whole idea is to create this one tax rate. And Madam Speaker, let me say to the people of Dominica, we are going to send this for advice to the fiscal policy panel, Madam Speaker. But don't rule out, do not rule out a complete eradication of income tax in Dominica. And move completely to a system of consumption taxes, Madam Speaker, and give people what they earn, the 100% of the money, give it to them. But my only advice to Dominicans is that the monies that the government is getting you to hold, save it. Do not use the extra local income to go and buy things to bring. Save it, save while you're young. So when you get old, Madam Speaker, you will have something you can go and withdraw. Do not go and waste this money. Save it. But the people of Dominica understand the benefit of that tax break to them, Madam Speaker. A progressive government, a progressive tax system, and that's what it started some 7 years ago. And just imagine, as Minister Austri said, if we didn't have to spend all these years fixing the mess we inherited, paying debts, paying Social Security. When we came into office, we couldn't pay salaries. In 1999, 1998, every month the computer broke down. Lying to the people. And the last-ditch effort went to Trinidad and took money from Dominica, brought it to Trinidad and borrowed the money. So we lent to Trinidad 3% and borrowed at 19%. Our same money. It is like, Madam Speaker, a man goes on sea, he catches fish, he sells it at $3 a pound, and he goes to the river there and buys it at $10 a pound, Madam Speaker. That's what it is. And retail, Madam Speaker. And that's the economic model which the member Rosso is parading as the savior of Dominica. Money was meeting money. What I can tell you, when the workers was there, Madam Speaker, it's bunks check meeting bunks check, Madam Speaker. Bunks check meeting bunks check. Reneging our responsibility to pay our taxes or our debts. Madam Speaker, that's the Workers' Party. That's the Workers' Party, Madam Speaker. They're not interested in educating our people. We increased the budget for education to train people, skills, graduates, Madam Speaker. The Workers' Party, led by Mr. Linton, has a problem when it comes to talking about training, university, graduates, Madam Speaker. Anything that has to do with education, Mr. Linton has a problem with it. He leads the opposition, Madam Speaker. But for me, Madam Speaker, I want the youths of Dominica to be more successful than I have been as a young postman. And I will spare no effort to ensure that every single child in Dominica can get the opportunity to realize his dream, Madam Speaker. And I was in my office today, and the time that Mr. John Member was saying that I don't come to Parliament and so on. But I was approving of scholarships to send children to study. And there's a young boy from Portsmouth. I will call his name Mr. Lloyd. Come from a challenged family. But the boy had some challenges himself, bounced back, did well in school. And he said his dream is to go to university to study economics. And I granted him a scholarship today. That's what it is, Madam Speaker. That's what it is. But the Workers' Party has a problem with that. But Mr. Linton, the leader of the opposition, whenever he gets opportunity, is to attack Dominica. Attack Dominica. So he goes on CBS in January and black eyes the country, attacks our country, undermines our country, Madam Speaker. Never. I mean, we were here in Parliament, Madam Speaker. Parliament is a place where you throw some jabs there, you throw some shots, Madam Speaker, but we must be able to embrace each other as Dominicans. So when you're in Parliament, you can fight, you can have some verbal fist fights. But when you leave Dominica, you are a Dominican. You're not a workers' Dominican or a labor right Dominican. You are Dominican, and therefore you must defend the honor, protect our country. But every time Mr. Linton gets an opportunity to speak about Dominica, is to destroy Dominica, to destroy our country, to speak negatively about our country. The United States government writes to you as a country. You haven't seen the correspondence. You heard something on the radio, Madam Speaker, and then you go and you write a letter. I don't understand. I go to countries, Madam Speaker, but when people talk about their country, they may be from different political parties, but they speak about their country. But Mr. Linton has brought a different type of politics to the country. And Mr. Honorable Usher is right. When Mr. Linton is not in the Parliament, we are brothers and sisters in opposition government. We're laughing, we're joking. Sparks, I'm sorry, I'm the member for Salisbury. I know he got named Sparks, you know. But, Madam Speaker, we're all right. We're friends, Madam Speaker. You understand? But from the time the leader of the opposition comes into the House, this guy's faces change. They cannot smile. They cannot joke. It's a different type of politics, and the Senator Thomas knows that, and he's shaking his head in agreement with Roosevelt's character. Because, Madam Speaker, when you see here, I'm there, and Linton is there sitting down, he does not leave. Madam Speaker, so we have to work together in this country, Madam Speaker, to build our country. The government proposes X, then propose Y and give reasons why you propose Y. How would Y work? Because we've always said, Madam Speaker, that's why I listen to people. And I asked the leader of opposition for a copy of his speech after his presentation. I didn't get one. I had to get it transcribed, to get it, to read it. You haven't seen it, you. You haven't seen it. You haven't seen it, Mr. Isaac. You haven't seen it. I had to get it transcribed, Mr. John, member for Salisbury, to read it. You haven't even read the copy, Madam Speaker. And it is a shame. It is a shame. We expect more from the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker. We expect more from him. But it is clearly he's disconnected from the people, Madam Speaker, because we had a series of consultations, town hall meetings, hearing from the people. We met with BICAD, Tony LeBlanc, and so on, Mr. Tony LeBlanc. They made the recommendations. Mr. Lima thought that I would never carry forward with the recommendations. But they came here, they're now part of the law. They're now part of the law. Met your children, I met a family. One family suffering from autism, the daughter suffering from autism.
Your time is up.
Cannot work, Madam Speaker. It's 5 minutes.
Speaker, I move that the Honourable Prime Minister be granted an additional 10 minutes to complete his conclusion on the budget.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Prime Minister gets a further 10 minutes to complete his winding up. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Your
Madam
final
Speaker,
10 minutes.
thank you, Madam Speaker. Let's talk about the leader who doesn't have enough time to respond, Madam Speaker. Now, if we are students of contemporary history, I'm talking about ancient history, contemporary history, and we study what happens in other jurisdictions, Madam Speaker. There are some jurisdictions, the Minister of Finance sits, and the opposition leader stands up. Just this, Madam Speaker, in Barbados, for example, the Minister of Finance ended his speech at about after 8 at night, and next afternoon, the leader of the opposition had to stand up at 3 p.m. to give a speech, to respond. Mr. Linton does not have the discipline of work that is required in these positions. What he should have done, because he got a copy of my speech moments after I delivered it. So he had several hours to go home and study that speech and tear it up, dissect it. Nothing like that. In this job, Madam Speaker, it requires discipline. It requires hard work, late hours, doing things constructive, researching, reading, consulting. Not just talking, Madam Speaker. Reading. So, Madam Speaker, we in this government, we have all grounds to declare, Madam Speaker, a no-case submission by Mr. Linton. Instead, Madam Speaker, they chose to rehash all sorts of unfounded allegations, Madam Speaker. All kinds of unfounded allegations. But I was very impressed, and I can say to your colleagues that I don't want you to go home and to watch yourself in the mirror and tell how great you have been. But the people out there saying that you all were fantastic in your presentations and account of yourselves, but requires more work, so we have to continue working hard. Madam Speaker, I also want to indicate to the country that I visited Comrade Ivor Stevenson on Sunday in Martinique, and he has made considerable progress, considering everything. He's alert. He could have recognized us. He could see my name and Honorable Douglas and McIntyre. I also brought his brother with me. He is going through therapy, both speech and physical therapy. He's able to stand, not having the full strength of his right leg yet, but he could stand and hold onto the railing and walk. So we continue to pray for him. We continue to provide all the support to him, morally and otherwise, and to say to him and to his people that all of his hard work in that constituency, because he was a soft-spoken person, but very committed to his people in Grand Fond, Mont Jean, and River Civic. And I'm saying to the people of Grand Fond, Mont Jean, River Civic, that this government is absolutely committed to ensuring that the work of Ivor Stevenson continues. I have taken up the responsibility of being the acting Parliament, Madam Speaker, and deputized by Honorable Seja. So we'll continue to work with the people to ensure that they continue to get the good representation which Ivor Stevenson provided to him when he was good. So we look forward to his full recovery, where he can report back to duty and be in the front line of continuing to assist the people, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, I am very proud and, of course, humbled to lead such a focused and united team, Madam Speaker. I can say without any fear of contradiction that we have the most united government and party in the entire Caribbean region, Madam Speaker. I have the absolute support of my colleague ministers and my colleague parliamentarians, Madam Speaker, and that's important. That is important when we all have the same vision, we all have the same commitment, we are all on the same mission to create a better way of life for every single citizen in our country, and that is very important, Madam Speaker. We cannot say the same thing for the opposition, Madam Speaker. We cannot say it, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, With our economy now rebuilt and secure after Erica, with our public finances safe and steadily improving, we can set off on a path to realize a modern, prosperous Dominica. A Dominica where our people are highly skilled, are well paid doing value-added activities, and are engaged in exporting their goods, produce, and services around the world. A Dominica where economic security for all brings more fulfillment and peace. A Dominica where the government offers a helping hand to those willing to upgrade their skills beyond school and college. A Dominica where work is rewarded and better housing is more attainable. Madam Speaker, we do not embark on this venture lightly. We recognize that this journey will not be short or smooth, and we know we need help, wisdom, and inspiration of all Dominicans to carry us to the end. But we also know that every journey begins with a first step, and with this budget, that is the step we take tonight, Madam Speaker. I wish, Madam Speaker, to commend this budget to this Honourable House, confident in the belief that it will be embraced and approved because of the solid measures contained therein. I want to say to Dominicans that by working together, we can realize all of the pronouncements in this budget. And if we're able to realize these pronouncements, I give the assurances that our country will be in a better place 1 year from now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
This concludes the debate on the estimates. The estimate shall now be referred to the Committee of Supply of the whole House. House resumes. The question is that I do report the estimates as amended to the House.
Madam Speaker,
Yes?
just for the record, so we should be approving 854,355,000.
Oh, not the 930?
No, the 75 is already provided by law.
Oh, I see. So it is, what I have to report to the House then is the 355,783 dollars. The question is that I do report the estimates of this amount to the House. And House resumes, and I have to report that the estimates have been passed through the committee stage with a minor amendment. The question is that the estimates of $854,355,783 as per procedure bills be approved. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. So the estimates are now approved. So we go to the, we now go to the,
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled 2017-2018 Appropriation Act 2017 be read a first time.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
2017-2018 Appropriation Act 2017.
the bill has been read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I move the second reading of the bill shortly entitled 2017-2018 Appropriation Act 2017.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled 2017-2018 Appropriation Act of 2017 be read a second time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The bill will now be read a second time.
2017-2018 Appropriation Act 2017.
The bill stands committee now to a committee of the whole House to be considered clause by clause. Report that the bill shortly entitled the 2017-2018 Appropriation Act of 2017 passed through the committee stage without amendment. The question is that the report of the committee on the bill be adopted. Those in favor? Aye. Those against, the ayes have it.
Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled 2017-2018 Appropriation 2017 to Act 2017 be read a third time and passed accordingly.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled 2017-2018 Appropriation Act of 2017 be read a third time and passed. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
2017-2018 Appropriation Act 2017.
The bill has been read a third time and passed accordingly.
Authorization for overdraft. Whereas, by virtue of Section 3.1 of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 1990 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the House of Assembly may, by resolution duly passed, authorize the minister responsible for finance to borrow money from approved sources or guarantee loans to statutory boards of public corporations for the purpose of financing general development purposes or for other purposes. And whereas in accordance with Section 36(1) of the Finance Administration Act, Number 4 of 1994, the power conferred by the Loans Act to borrow money by means of advances from a bank may be exercised by means of a fluctuating overdraft. And whereas a sum not exceeding $31,500,000 is required to meet central government's current overdraft requirements, and B, a sum not exceeding $5 million is required to meet guarantee of overdrafts to statutory boards and public corporations. Be it resolved that in accordance with Section 3.1 of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 1990 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, this Honorable House authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow and guarantee by means of fluctuating overdraft a sum not exceeding in the aggregate $36,500,000 from A, First Caribbean International Bank, B, National Bank of Dominica, C, Royal Bank of Canada, and or D, any other approved financial institution to meet central government's current overdraft requirements and to guarantee overdrafts to statutory and public corporations for a further period of 1 year, commencing from 1st day of July 2017.
Candidate, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the resolution before this Honorable House seeks Parliament's approval for the use of a fluctuating overdraft to meet the government's short-term financing needs for the fiscal year 2017-2018. Section 36(1) of the Finance Administration Act, Number 4 of 1994, specifies that the Minister of Finance may borrow by means of a fluctuating overdraft to finance government operations and to guarantee loans or overdrafts to statutory boards and public corporations. The motion before the House seeks Parliament's approval for use of an overdraft facility with commercial banks in the Commonwealth of Dominica in the total sum of $36.5 million EC dollars. Madam Speaker, the overdraft facility is to help finance government's day-to-day operations in anticipation of revenue collection. Government may need to provide emergency resources from time to time in order to meet unexpected commitments on a timely basis. In light of the above, Madam Speaker, Parliament is being requested to approve the sum of $31.5 million on behalf of central government, as well as an additional sum of $5 million to guarantee loans or overdrafts to statutory boards and public corporations. Approval, therefore, is being requested for the total sum of $36.5 million. Madam Speaker, I commend the motion to this Honorable House for its approval. Thank you.
The motion is before the House for debate on the question of the loan solely.
Madam Speaker, there being no debate on the matter, Madam Speaker, I commend the motion to the House.
There being no debate, I will now put the question. Be it resolved that in accordance with Section 3(1) of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 1990 Revised Laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, this Honorable House authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow and guarantee by means of fluctuating overdraft a sum not exceeding in the aggregate $36,500,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars from A. First Caribbean International Bank, B. National Bank of Dominica, C. Royal Bank of Canada, and or D. any other approved financial institution to meet central government's current overdraft requirements and to guarantee overdrafts to statutory and public corporations for a further period of 1 year commencing from 1st day of July 2017. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The motion stands carried.
Appointment of committees.
Madam Speaker, with respect to the Public Accounts Committee, we have Honorable Lennox Linton, Honorable Joseph Isaac, and we have Senator the Honorable Edward Regis, Senator the Honorable Jaiziah Benoit.
Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the following persons serve on the Public Accounts Committee: Honorable Lennox Linton, Honorable Joseph Isaac, Honorable Edward Regis, Honorable Jaiziah Benoit. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Privileges Committee.
Privileges Committee, we have Honorable, and Madam Speaker, as regards to the Public Accounts Committee as provided by law, the leader of the position is the chairman, as provided by law.
The Public Accounts Committee, yes.
In respect to the Privileges Committee, Honorable Alex Boyd Knight, the chairman or chairperson, chairman?
Chairperson.
You have to go and check everything in the Bible now. from men to men and women. You see, I tell you, the Bible was created, they don't create women heads. Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, Honorable Dennis Charles, Honorable Isaac Baptiste, Honorable Joshua Francis.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that the following persons serve on the Privileges Committee. Honorable Alex Boyd Knight, Chairperson, Honorable Colin McIntyre, Honorable Dennis Charles, Honorable Isaac Baptiste, Honorable Joshua Francis. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Honorable Speaker, the Standing Orders Committee, Honorable Alex Boyd Knight, Chairman, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow, Honorable Francine Barron, Honorable Felix Thomas, Honorable Danny Luque.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the following persons serve on the Standing Orders Committee. Honorable Alex Boyd Knight as Chairperson, Honorable Kenneth Darrow, Honorable Francine Barron, Honorable Felix Thomas, and Honorable Danny Lugue as members. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Let me get my detail to follow me. My escort quickly, please.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned sine die.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
Before the House, before I put the vote to the House, I would just like to thank a few persons. Behind the scenes, there's been a lot of work happening that perhaps members would not know about. The clerk of the House and his team in the office have worked very hard to prepare for the meeting. We've had the grounds looking very well thanks to our gardener. He's gone out of his way. The security gentlemen have helped very well by ensuring that everything stays intact. The police officers have been very good in their surveillance efforts. And last but by no means least, I have to thank the persons who bring all of the happenings of the House to the audience out there. And I have to let the members and the public know the first job of the, one of the things that we want to do, because we have already our other committee in place for the broadcast. The broadcast committee was selected at the beginning of the term. So we are going to, as a matter of priority, look into the issue about what was not streamed or whatever happened. Okay? Again, thanks one and all, and thank the members for making this one of our more pleasant budget debates. I thank the members for the spirit of cooperation and willingness to, have a light time of it. I do appreciate that. And I thank everybody. And I wish everybody a very good night. I'll now take the, oh, you want to say, PMOs?
Because you see, the GIS staff cannot respond for themselves. You see, but I just want to say that the budget debate was streamed live by GIS on a GIS page for every single person who spoke in the Parliament during the budget debate. People must make a distinction between the personal page of Roosevelt Skerrit and that of the government. Now they are referring to the personal page of Roosevelt Scary. No. But GIS streamed live, they stopped. So there are some people who were looking for it on my personal page. You understand? I were not paying attention to the GIS page, and that was the issue. The GIS was on, my friend. They were looking for the personal page, so it wasn't factual to say that. But, Madam Speaker, I really want to thank and to commend the efforts of the clerk, and as you've done, and the stenographers who
One, the stenographers, sorry.
yeah, who have to be
sorry.
trying to figure out what we're saying, we're speaking so fast, especially Mr. Austria and so on, you know. But you know, they work diligently every day, every night. The clerk, his staff, exceptional, the police officers, you know, who were there dutifully and diligently, you know. The staff from the Ministry of Finance and the various ministries, the permanent secretaries who've been here, not only here to listen, but also in the whole preparation. The Financial Secretary, as I've always said publicly, is an exceptional public officer, and I believe that aspiring and current public officers will need to emulate her diligence to work and hard work and so forth. And I think, Madam Speaker, the Financial Secretary, Mrs. Edwards, is an asset to the country. You know, a little bit tight to be spending, Madam Speaker. So
We know that, we know that.
sometimes I don't see her for 3 weeks, especially if she sees some many people coming from me too often and so on. I don't see her for 3 weeks, and we're just almost on the same floor, you know. But for good reason, and you need that level of discipline within the system, especially at the Ministry of Finance level. And so we really want to thank her publicly for her continued diligence, and of course her staff and the Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador Farrell, and all the people who play a part in making this happen. It's a wonderful opportunity to work with everybody. So, Madam Speaker, we look forward to another good debate. I thought that the spirit improved a bit, and our hope is that they can be greater commentary. We can, you know, we can't not fire some blows. That's part of the parliamentary democracy. In other countries like Japan and so on, they fist fights, physical fights. You know, I mean, men diving on people and so on. But here, we speak with the tongue. But at the end of the day, we have to recognize that we have a greater responsibility. So with this shield, Madam Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned sine die.
And I would still have to, I don't get to speak all the time, but we forget Mr. Labad all the time. We have to thank him for unfailing carrying of the news. And many persons have complimented the look of the place, the flower arranging, so we have to thank Mrs. Fadell for that. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that this honorable house be adjourned sine die. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable house stands adjourned sine die.